Hello everyone and welcome to this new video. Today I'm taking you on a fascinating journey into the heart of ancient Egypt to discover the life, death, and mysteries of one of the most famous pharaohs in history, Tutankhamun. Have you ever heard of the Boy King? He became famous for the sensational discovery of his tomb, but his life is filled with surprising details, court intrigues, and unsolved mysteries. Get comfortable, because we're about to uncover who Tutankhamun really was. Who was Tutankhamun? Life and mysteries of the young pharaoh. It was 1922 when a young British archaeologist named Howard Carter, digging in the sands of the Valley of the Kings in Egypt, found a step. That step would change history forever. Behind it lay a door, and behind that door, a treasure hidden for over 3,000 years, the tomb of Pharaoh Tutankhamun. From that moment, the entire world became fascinated by a figure who until then had been little more than a faded name on some ancient king lists. But who really was Tutankhamun? Why is his tomb so important? And how did this mysterious young king die? To find out, we need to jump back to the 14th century BC, during a complex and turbulent period in ancient Egypt. Tutankhamun was born around 1341 BC, during the reign of Akhenaten, a pharaoh who had revolutionized Egypt's religious system by imposing the worship of a single god, Aten, the sun disk. Akhenaten had suppressed the power of the traditional priests and moved the capital to a new city called Akhetaten, now known as Amarna. This upheaval created deep tensions within Egyptian society. Little Tutankhamun, originally named Tutankhaten, grew up in a world dominated by political and religious uncertainty. His parents were likely Akhenaten and one of his sisters, as sibling marriages were common among Egyptian royalty to preserve divine blood. However, this practice probably contributed to his fragile health. Modern studies show that Tutankhamun suffered from various malformations, including a clubfoot, scoliosis, and widespread bone weakness. When Akhenaten died, power briefly passed to a mysterious figure named Smenkhare, and then, at just 8 or 9 years old, it was Tutankhaten's turn. Far too young to rule alone, he was guided by two crucial figures, the Vizier I and the General Hormheb, who effectively wielded power in his place. One of the first decisions made during his reign was to return to traditional religious practices. The young king changed his name from Tutankhaten to Tutankhamun, living image of Ammonius, in honor of the main god of the Egyptian pantheon. This act had tremendous significance. It was a clear sign of reconciliation with the powerful clergy of Thebes, the former religious capital. Temples dedicated to Ammonius, neglected or destroyed during his father's reign, were restored. The suppressed gods were depicted once more, and ceremonies returned to ancient traditions. But Tutankhamun's reign was not limited to religious restoration. Efforts were made to revive the economy and diplomacy. Documents show attempts to re-establish relations with neighboring kingdoms like Mitanni and Babylon, though it is unclear how personally involved the young king was in these exchanges. Weapons like bows and daggers, one forged from meteoritic iron, were found in his tomb, but there's no evidence he ever led military campaigns. They were likely symbols of status rather than practical tools of war. However, chariots found in his tomb suggest he was depicted in regal activities, possibly even ceremonial hunting, an important image for a pharaoh. During this period, the royal court settled in Memphis, near the Nile Delta, likely because of its central position for controlling Upper and Lower Egypt. It was a delicate attempt to restore balance and stability, although Tutankhamun himself was probably more a symbolic figure, with real power in the hands of his advisors. One fascinating detail revealed by his tomb artifacts: over 130 walking sticks. They were not just symbols of authority but real aids for walking. Some of his sandals were specially adapted for a clubfoot, confirming his severe mobility issues and fragile health. At about 18 or 19 years old, Tutankhamun died, suddenly. And here the real mysteries begin. For decades, scholars speculated that he had been murdered, as his mummy showed skull damage. However, CT scans in 2005 and subsequent genetic studies revealed a different story. He wasn't struck on the head but had suffered a serious fracture to his left femur, probably from a fall. In a weakened body, this injury could have been fatal. Moreover, DNA analysis revealed the presence of malaria. A combination of malaria and a bone infection may have led to his death. One unexplained fact remains: his heart is missing. In traditional mummification rituals, the heart was carefully preserved because it was vital for the soul's judgment in the afterlife. Was it lost, or deliberately removed? No one knows. Yet what immortalized his name was not his death, but his tomb. In 1922, Howard Carter discovered what is perhaps the greatest archaeological find of all time. Tomb KV62 in the Valley of the Kings had only been lightly looted in antiquity. Most of its contents, over 5,000 objects, were still intact, including items of extraordinary beauty. The golden death mask, the sarcophagus, beds, games, food containers, and even finely folded linen underwear. Among the finds were two mummified fetuses, believed to be the stillborn children of Tutankhamun and his wife Enkhsenemen, daughter of Nefertiti and Tutankhamun's half-sister. It was a dynastic marriage, leaving no surviving heirs. The discovery ignited worldwide fascination. Newspapers spoke of the pharaoh's curse, after several expedition members died under unusual circumstances. Lord Carnarvon, who funded the excavation, died from an infected mosquito bite. Although there's no scientific evidence of a real curse, the legend fueled the myth. Today, Tutankhamun is not remembered for his deeds as a ruler but for what he left behind. An extraordinary window into ancient Egyptian civilization. His artifacts reveal daily life, religion, funerary customs, and even medical practices. He has spoken more to us in death than in life. In the end, the Boy King became eternal precisely because he was fragile, forgotten, and accidentally rediscovered. He is a symbol of archaeology and the enduring power of historical memory. Though he reigned only a few years, his golden face is now known across the world. The figure of Tutankhamun must also be understood by looking at the profound period of transformation in which he lived. During the 18th dynasty, Egypt was a superpower, with territories stretching from Nubia to the Levant. But his father Akhenaten's radical reforms had caused chaos. The traditional priesthood was weakened, bureaucracy was disrupted, and the economy had slowed. Thus, even if indirectly, the young pharaoh faced the delicate mission of restoring social order. The restoration was not just religious. The kingdom's architects embarked on projects to repair temples at Karnak and Luxor, damaged or abandoned during the worship of Aten. Scribes resumed writing hymns to Osiris, Isis, Horus, and Ammonius Ra. It was a true spiritual and cultural renaissance, promoted through royal decrees that restored prestige to the ancient gods. One of the most fascinating aspects of his reign concerns daily life at court. Although sickly, Tutankhamun took part in ceremonies, banquets, and public celebrations. He had to appear strong, divine, able to guide the people, at least symbolically. He wore refined linen garments, gold ornaments, ceremonial crowns, and ritual makeup. Cosmetics, in fact, had religious significance. Eyes lined with kohl, skin anointed with scented oils, all carried sacred meaning beyond aesthetics. The royal palace was also a cultural hub. Music, poetry, and dance were practiced. Instruments like lyres, flutes, and sistrums accompanied official moments. They played Senet, a board game symbolizing the soul's journey through the afterlife. Many of these items were found in his tomb. Now, let's talk about his burial. Tutankhamun's tomb was much smaller than those of other pharaohs, probably because his death was sudden. Some scholars believe it wasn't even originally intended for him but was quickly repurposed. The four main chambers, burial chamber, annex, treasury, and antechamber, were packed to the brim. The burial chamber contained the sarcophagus with 3 nested coffins, the last of which was made of solid gold. Floral garlands, symbolizing rebirth, were placed on the mummy. Surrounding him was an imposing funerary collection, statues of gods, canopic jars to store his organs, models of sacred boats, and food for the afterlife journey. All following the Egyptian ritual of the good burial, ensuring immortality. One object, in particular, captured the world's imagination: the funerary mask. Standing 54 centimeters tall and weighing over 10 kilograms, it is crafted from gold, lapis lazuli, obsidian, and glass paste. Its eyes seem alive. It depicts the pharaoh wearing the Nemes headdress, with the cobra and vulture symbols of rule over Upper and Lower Egypt. Beyond the treasure, the mummy itself has told us much. Through modern techniques like X-rays, CT scans, and genetic analysis, scientists discovered that the king suffered from a combination of hereditary disorders. His bones were fragile, his hips deformed, his skull elongated. DNA analysis revealed close kinship between his parents. A grave fracture in the femur, never healed, was found, possibly leading to his death. An infection and cerebral malaria may have contributed as well. Finally, there's the mystery of the missing heart. No papyrus or traditional ritual calls for the exclusion of the heart. Some scholars suggest Tutankhamun's body was damaged during mummification. Others believe it could have been a ritual punishment or the result of a rushed burial. We may never know for sure. Yet these very mysteries, together with the immense symbolic value of his funerary goods, have made Tutankhamun immortal. His short life, marked by illness, weakness, and loneliness, has opened an incredible window into the past. He is the emblem of pharaonic Egypt, the golden face that looks at us across the centuries. A story that, even after 3,000 years, still makes us dream. And so, our journey into the life and mysteries of Tutankhamun comes to an end. A young king with fragile health, forgotten by his successors but rediscovered millennia later as one of the most beloved symbols of ancient Egypt. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and activate the notification bell so you don't miss the upcoming episodes dedicated to the great civilizations of the past. Let me know in the comments what struck you the most about Tutankhamun's story, or if you already knew some of these curiosities. Thank you for traveling through time with me. See you next time.